2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5 North First Drive, anything you can do, Ioniq can do better. Hyundai's new high-performance electric SUV flips the bird to the EV doubters. I know EVs are torquier and quicker than ICE cars, but I'm still going to miss the noise and the fury of a gasoline car. Bad news, friends, we're just back from a brief get-to-know-you drive of Hyundai's 641 HP Ioniq 5N, and it seems Hyundai has just torpedoed that reasonable-sounding anti-EV argument. Where'd they hide the engine? We're not just talking about fake engine noises piped through the speakers, although, yes, the Ioniq 5N has those, and among the choices is a gas engine soundtrack as good as any computer racing simulator. The killer app is a feature called Shift, apparently not pronounced any shift, judging by the dirty looks we got from the engineers. Using an ingenious combination of motor torque and regenerative braking, Shift makes the Ioniq 5 feel not sound, but feel as if it has a twin-clutch automatic transmission. The physical sensations it generates are identical to Hyundai's own DCT, including some of its less than gentlemanly mannerisms, such as bucking in response to an ill-timed shift. The digital dash displays an 8,000 RPM tachometer, and the acceleration mimics the torque curve of a four-cylinder turbo engine. It'll even bounce off an imaginary limiter, cutting off all acceleration if the driver forgets to paddle up. Combined with the synthesized engine noises, the effect is eerily accurate. You can almost convince yourself that Hyundai stuffed one of its N-spec turbo engines into the generous confines of the Ioniq 5, our 2023 SUV of the year. Software can do anything. Well, almost. Granted, Shift is a useless gimmick that negates the chief advantage of an electric performance car, specifically, instant access to a bottomless well of torque. But it proves a point. Skilled software engineers and a bit of imagination can make an EV do practically anything a gearhead wants. Well, almost anything. Another of the Ioniq 5's features is N-Drift Optimizer. If you're sensing a theme, you're right. Hyundai has appended N to nearly everything the Ioniq 5N does. We're surprised the door handles aren't called N-Cabin Access Enablers. Hyundai claims this feature makes it easy for novices to drift their Ioniq 5NS. It doesn't. We tried it on a wet skid pad and were unable to hold a sustained drift. The car either spun or straightened out, despite following the instructions Hyundai's engineers, were shouting over the walkie-talkie. None of the other journalists participating in our session were able to hold a drift, either, and even the engineer who told us he designed the system for novices like himself couldn't manage more than a brief flash of oversteer. Oh, yes, we did see an Ioniq 5 going full tail out, and you can, too, driven by an accomplished drifter with the N-Drift Optimizer turned off. Still, the Ioniq 5NS software does a lot of cool stuff, such as giving the driver the ability to program the torque split. Yep, this has an N name too, N-Torque Distribution. You can drive the Ioniq 5N with 100% of its power coming from the rear motor, or feel the effects of a 50/50th split, or if you love understeer and hate fun, race your Ioniq 5 in front-wheel drive mode. Let it do what it's gonna do. For all the other N gadgets, we had the most fun, both on the track at the Korea International Circuit and on the road, when we simply put the car in its aggressive N mode, turned off the Shift and N Active Sound Plus, the phony engine noises, and let the 5N do what it was going to do. And what it did was nothing short of delightful. The Sporty 5 builds on the basic tail-happy nature of the EGMP platform, willingly rotating in the curves in a manner that is gradual and easy to catch. The chassis has a lovely balance, and the tires 235/35 R21 Pirelli P0s all around deliver gobs of grip. Steering is reasonably communicative, with a light effort that lets you drive with your fingertips and pick up what feedback comes through. The brakes, as experienced through the pedal, are brilliant. Hyundai did some extensive reworking here, particularly with the mix of regenerative and friction braking. Not that the driver will know, the brake pedal simply works as well as expected on any good performance car. If anything, the Ioniq 5 is a bit too easy to overdrive. Even without pressing the boost button sorry, the N-Grin boost button to conjure the full 641 horsepower, the otherwise 601 HP Ioniq 5N picks up speed so rapidly that we repeatedly found ourselves blasting into corners carrying way more speed than intended. The powertrain's silence masks the rapid acceleration. You'd be surprised how much we rely on oral feedback when we drive. Come to think of it, perhaps those fake engine noises aren't such a gimmick after all. Better living through electricity. Overall, the Ioniq 5 North is an impressive track machine, and it ain't bad on a curvy road, either. We got very little opportunity to push hard on public streets, blame Korea's draconian speed limits and local drivers who largely obey them, but, as with the other N cars, there is true brilliance in the chassis. All the more amazing when you consider this is a 2-ton plus SUV, or when you simply step back and realize just how big the damn thing is. That's because Hyundai's engineers did more than simply crank up the power and edit lines of code. There is a wealth of hardware changes to the N over the regular Ioniq 5, including fitment of a modified version of the Genesis GV60S front suspension, new steering gear, and stiffening of the body shell with additional welds and adhesive. The motor and battery cooling systems were also beefed up, accompanied by user-selectable modes that optimize temperatures for both drag and track use. The latter is set up for 20 minutes of track performance followed by a 20-minute breather. We're sure the anti-EV crowd will cling to that one as evidence of ICE superiority. Well, folks, you're not wrong. The technology is still evolving. Out on real-world roads, the NS ride is noticeably firmer than the regular 5s, but not unpleasantly so, though the big Pirellis do generate enough noise on some road surfaces to drown out the synthesized engine sounds. One of the things we love about the gas-powered N cars is you can shut off all the high-performance stuff for a comfortable commute. The Ioniq 5N needs far less taming, even in N mode. It's nowhere near as punishingly stiff as the Elantra N and the Veloster N can be, and that's just fine. Those cars do their best curvy road work in their penultimate chassis setting anyway. Where the Ioniq 5N needs improvement. Complaints? Well, there's the sheer complexity of activating the various N features, not just through the center screen but with the plethora of buttons that have been added to the steering wheel as well. We had trouble keeping all the functions straight, despite, or perhaps because of, the cheat sheet Hyundai gave us, which consisted of a dozen index cards. Surely an owner will figure them out over time, but we'd recommend at least a 3-year lease just in case. Our other big complaint is with iPedal, Hyundai's one-pedal driving mode. Most of the braking comes on at the top of the accelerator pedal's travel, making it hard to modulate. Conversely, the N-pedal function, intended for enthusiastic driving, didn't seem to generate enough regen on the track, although it's entirely possible we missed a setting in the plethora of N menus. In all, we didn't come away feeling differently than after our previous prototype drives at the Nürburgring and in the snow, and we remain convinced Hyundai can deliver the thrills of the ICE N cars in an electric SUV. We love that Hyundai has taken steps to show a skeptical public that EVs can offer the same visceral thrills as an internal combustion vehicle. Perhaps in future decades we'll chuckle at the Ioniq 5N's frivolity, or maybe EVs that mimic DCTs will be the norm. One thing is for sure, if you don't think an EV can thrill, you must drive the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. We think even the skeptics will find it as engaging as we did.
Wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna